As you can see behind me, the dumpsters are starting to fill up with trash, causing quite a stench. Governor Greitens will give his State of the State address in just less than an hour. Some people saying, yes, schools do need to talk about sexual harassment in the classrooms. Others saying if schools are going to talk about it, parents need to know exactly what's being said. Now, this is the first time the governor has actually proposed a specific plan to cut taxes. President Trump is expected to arrive at a manufacturing building just down the street over here. Here's a look at the top stories from your capital this week. I'm Lydia Nusbaum. The money for the grant program would come from the General Revenue Fund. They would like to use that money to be able to invest in programs and keep people here. One way to seal your window is to buy a rubber window seal like this one and place it on a metal part of your window where you feel the air coming out. What the pharmacist will do is they'll take a 1-liter bag and they'll pump out the fluids into 20 of these smaller bags. Currently, public schools are not required to teach sexual education, but one bill would require them to talk about sexual harassment with the hope of preventing it in the future.
I wish I knew where the line was. I wish I knew when this applied, if alcohol is involved. I wish I knew, in high school that the only way to sexually assault someone wasn't rape.
These are some of the things Chelsea Spence would hear from her friends at college, and it inspired her and others to help create a bill hoping to prevent assault.
There's a lot of different kinds of sexual harassment and assault that we just aren't educating our high school age students on, or even college age.
Spence is the legislative director for the Associated Students of the University of Missouri, a student lobbyist group. Currently, Missouri schools that teach sexual education are required to teach students 8 guidelines, including topics like abstinence, sexually transmitted diseases, and the dangers of sexual predators. The lobbyist group helped write a bill that would require adding another guideline for schools to teach the meaning of consent, sexual violence, and sexual harassment.
So beginning to have these conversations early and often is really one of the best ways that we can prevent sexual harassment, sexual violence of any kind from happening.
Parents can choose not to have their kids participate in these conversations. The bill has bipartisan support from over 20 House lawmakers. Now, we asked our viewers on Facebook what they thought about schools teaching sexual harassment in class, and what we heard was a variety of different reactions. Some people saying, yes, we think it's good that schools are teaching about sexual harassment. Other people saying, as long as the parents know fully what is happening and what they're being taught, they also want parents to step in and teach their children about sexual harassment. Reporting live at the state capitol, Lydia Nusbaum, KOMU 8 News. I'm in an alley off of 10th Street where business owners say people aren't throwing away their trash the right way. As you can see behind me, the dumpsters are starting to fill up with trash, causing quite a stench and leakage problems in the morning. As I've been following this story, the city has been starting to take steps towards a solution. Day after day, the Iron Tiger employees mop the floor nearly 3 times a day. It's a problem they've been mopping up for nearly 3 months, a grease problem.
River of grease coming out of that alleyway down 10th Street and into the stormwater drains. It's really gross. You're seeing grease, you're seeing flies, you're seeing vermin.
And it all goes back to this. Where there once used to be a trash compactor, there are now 6 trash bins, leaking grease and food waste as the garbage truck squeezes the trash.
Now we have people tracking grease in from that, and we're trying to keep a sterile environment. It's kind of difficult. Yeah, we're scrubbing it whenever we see it.
Sensentoffer says once his daughter even fell in the grease.
It really irked me, I guess. I kind of had an angry dad moment.
The city replaced a trash compactor similar to this one with 6 trash bins. The compactor used to be on private property when the owner says it would leak grease and then wash into her business. The city originally had these 6 dumpsters spread out around the alley, but someone kept moving them.
We come out and service them, and if we move them, then they tend to move back to the east end of the alley by somebody.
Now, all 6 are against the Iron Tiger, creating a smell everyone wants out of the area.
I think my biggest concern as the manager of the shop is, are people going to want to walk by that? The smell on the site is not great at all, and are people going to want to walk by that to come into our business?
The nature of the smell and the grease buildup in the alley there that people, walking down 10th Street is going to see. It's just not a very attractive sight.
Owners say the problem starts when restaurants dump food into trash bins without trash bags.
I've seen an open box full of old produce that's just definitely not being contained in an appropriate manner.
The current city ordinance does not necessarily require business owners to put trash in trash bags, but it does prohibit dumping grease. To get rid of grease, restaurants need to hire a separate contractor, which means some restaurants aren't following regulations.
If you're not disposing of your grease correctly, if you're not disposing of your wet garbage correctly, if it's not in a sealed bag whenever you put it in the trash can, then it's gonna bring along all sorts of nasty stuff.
It's a problem business owners have been speaking with the city about for weeks. The city and the Downtown Community Improvement District have been meeting with business owners to try and solve the problem, but there aren't any firm solutions in place yet. Now, the city has a couple of solutions that they could do. First, they could try and change the ordinance to make sure that people use trash bags. The other solution is they can go around and educate people on the proper way to dispose of their trash and grease. Now, the CID sent out this letter to business owners encouraging them to dispose of their trash the right way during the day and at night. Reporting live in downtown Columbia, Lydia Nusbaum, KOMU 8 News. Haley was arrested and put into a holding cell where he called his attorney, but without Haley knowing, the Columbia Police Department recorded the conversation he had with his lawyer, which violates attorney-client privilege, and that tape ended up in the special prosecutor's hands. It started back in 2014 when Shane Haley backed his truck into Addison's Grill in Columbia. 4 people were injured and Columbia police officers arrested him. While in the holding cell, Haley called his attorney, but without his knowledge, that phone call was recorded.
We know this because somebody at the Columbia Police Department created this video. It didn't reproduce itself.
CPD then provided the Attorney General's office, who was the special prosecutor, with information on the case, including the recording of that call. Haley's attorney petitioned the court today to disqualify the Attorney General's office and appoint a different prosecutor, saying there was impropriety in the AG's office.
But my concern is we don't know that everybody in the Attorney General's office has not viewed this at some point, that there's not some investigator somewhere who's looked at this.
However, the Attorney General's office says it did not look at the contents of the recording.
But here, where there's no evidence, no reason to believe that any prosecutor in the Attorney General's office has ever had actual access, so to speak, to this, that I don't think the court should conclude that there's any appearance of impropriety.
In addition to appointing a different special prosecutor to the case, Haley's attorney says he would like to have the video be removed from the Columbia Police Department server. In the studio, Lydia Nusbaum, KOMU 8 News.